everyone, Frayed Laces here, and today I'm going to share with you my tips on how to set up your bike transition in a triathlon. Now when I first started out in triathlon, I had a really hard time figuring out exactly how to set up my transition. It seemed really overwhelming to me and I wasn't really sure what to do. But I talked to a lot of athletes and I kind of got some tips. And over the years, I've kind of simplified my transition process. And so I want to share with you today what I do in transition, which I consider to be pretty much one of the most bare bones way of setting up your transition. And I'm also going to give you some tips on things you might want to consider, especially if you're a beginner and you're just about ready to do one of your first triathlons. So first of all, if you take a look at my bike, as you can see, there is absolutely nothing on the ground. Everything I need in transition is on my bike. And this is something called a clean transition. And in some of the larger races, you'll see this in the rule book. And again, the clean transition means that you're not allowed to put any equipment on the ground. Everything you have has to be on your bike or in a bag attached to your bike. So let me walk you through how I have my transition set up. First of all, my bike will be racked on a transition rack, a bike rack, which is a metal rack. And you're going to want to hang the nose of your saddle off that rack so that the rack is under the nose. Your bike is going to be tilted down slightly. If your seat is really high, your front wheel may be resting on the ground, depending on the height of your saddle. Mine kind of floats just above the ground, so there's a little bit of give on my front wheel. But the first thing you want to do is hang your bike's saddle off of that rack. Now, I essentially have four things in my swim to bike transition. I have my cycling shoes, I have my race bib, I have my race helmet, and I have my sunglasses. So I have everything set up on the front of my bike so that when I come into transition, I know I have a simple way that I come in and a set way that I do it every single time. A routine that I will have practiced at home before the race. So the first thing I do is I come in and I take my sunglasses, which are on top, and I put them on. Then I take my aero helmet and I put that on, and I remember to clip the helmet because you'll get a penalty if you leave transition without having your helmet clipped. And right now, actually, my aero helmet, you can't see from this angle, but I've opened up the back all the way so that it's as loose as possible so that I can just put it right on my head. Once I get on my bike and start pedaling, I'll adjust the tension back here to make it fit snugly on my head. Then I take my race bib and I will put that on. And this is a race belt so that you can simply clip it on. You put that so that your race number's in the back. And then I take my shoes. And if you notice, my shoes are actually backwards on my aero bars and the Velcro is open. And this is so I can take my shoes when I come into transition, I flip them around, I put them down on the ground, and they're ready to go on the right feet. And again, I've practiced this so many times that to me, there's very little thought that has to go into this process. Because transition, remember, is something that's going to be eating off of your overall time, so you want to be as fast as possible. Now, for some of the bigger races, such as the race that I'm actually about to do in a couple days, Ironman Florida, you're not allowed to have anything on your bike, period. And that is due to how they rack the bikes. You actually won't even run up to your bike. Instead, you'll be issued a bag such as this, that before the race, you will have put all of your necessary equipment into the bag. And so when you come out of the swim, you will grab your bag, run into a changing tent, put all your bike gear on, run out of the changing tent, and then someone will hand you your bike and then you go off. So that's kind of a variation on the clean transition. I like to call that the naked transition, although make sure there's no nudity involved in transition, so it's just simply a figure of speech. But for those of you who are starting out, some races don't have a clean transition. And that means that you're allowed to put stuff on the ground. And some people find that incredibly helpful. And what I used to do, and what I still do now if it's not a clean transition, is I'll take a little towel and fold it up into a small area, and I'll use that kind of as my visual space. And on that towel, I'll have my shoes, I'll have whatever I need to get ready to go onto my bike. Some people find it helpful to have a little wash basin that's filled with water so that you can rinse the sand off of your feet so that you won't have any chafing on the bike. As an alternative, you can fill simply a little squeeze bottle with water and just rinse off your feet before you jump onto your bike. And the final thing you really want to make sure you remember before you leave your bike on race day morning is you want to make sure that your bike is set in the absolute lowest gear. Right now my bike is actually in a very hard gear, and if I were to get on my bike right now, when I'm going on leaving to start my bike, when I first jump on, I'm going to have to put so much force down that I might have an accident, I might not simply be able to get going quick enough. So you want to make sure that you definitely put your bike in a very easy gear when you jump on your bike. So I hope that helped you guys. Those are just some of my tips on how you can kind of set up your bike for a transition. Now remember, the amount of stuff you have in transition is directly proportional to the amount of time that you're going to spend in transition. So you really want to expedite that process as much as you can. So having a simplified, bared down transition is definitely going to be to your advantage. So I hope those tips helped, and good luck out there racing, and I'll see you guys all next time.